Hi, I'm Rebecca Michael. I'm the Executive Staff Director of the Ohio Cyber Range Institute. I'm also faculty at UC in the School of Information Technology. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit about the OCRI, give you a short demo, and then talk about some opportunities to collaborate. And so I was invited by the OSU Cybersecurity Days, so I wanted to thank them for the opportunity to present this information to you. So first, we'll go through just the need for an Ohio Cyber Range and the initiative from the OC3 that put this together. And I'm sure that you've heard about the OC3 as a part of the Cybersecurity Days. Then we'll talk about cutting the ribbon for the Institute on March 3rd, 2020, and what we've done since then. And then talk about some of the use cases that we came up with and that we have explored in the range. So the need for cybersecurity education, economic, and workforce development is well established, and I'm sure that you're aware. And we are working towards closing that gap, reskilling, developing, encouraging that talent from K-12, higher ed, adult ed, within employment, trying to upskill and reskill, and then for people who want to change careers, certainly providing some opportunities for that. In addition, providing opportunities for researchers and for industry engagement. So we need to make sure that we are training correctly and that we are supporting our industry and our current people who are working in the field, in addition to our researchers, and collaborating across the state to make sure that we're moving as quickly as possible to address this critical need. So in order to do this, the state of Ohio decided to explore these benefits of a range, to have hands-on learning and training, not just at a few universities or at a few institutions that can afford to have their own range, but everywhere, to have a common resource where you can have that critical hands-on activity. Also, a safe place to explore and learn. We are training a lot of people to do things that are not appropriate on a public network. So they need a place to come and practice. And a cyber range is a safe place to do that. And then having the ability to kind of scaffold that learning, build it once, improve on it, and have that available for future students and future instructors, so that we now have multi-levels of training and support available for all students. So the OC3 got together and decided that we needed a cyber range for the state. And so they started with phase 1 and looked at other states, what they have done, looked at the need overall, and explored some opportunities with the Michigan Cyber Range, Merit, and then decided, yes, we have a need and we would like to explore a few different areas. And we want to start with a pilot because we need to know how to iterate through this. This is a large project, and so we want to start and we want to learn, and then we want to continue to improve throughout this process. At the same time that the state was exploring phase 1, UC had the CCH sandbox that we used for the UC classes that had a need for both a cyber range and the need for virtual instruction. As we were moving more and more classes online, so that we had both the ability for students to take on-campus classes and online classes, we certainly needed a virtual environment. But as we got more and more into cybersecurity classes, we also needed that safe space and those critical labs that were just easier to deploy through a virtual environment. So when the state was looking for somebody to start this project and to start the pilot, we were able to work together with them to go into that second phase. While we were building the Ohio Cyber Range, we were able to use that sandbox environment that we already had and bring more people in, bring in K-12 institutions, bring in other universities and colleges across the state, and also explore research and industry engagements. Once we got to the ability to support all of those users who were using the sandbox with the cyber range, then we switched over and brought everyone in, and we ended that capacity at about 4,000 virtual machines. Once the pilot was successful, the state decided it was time for phase 3, kind of that final phase to operationalize the Ohio Cyber Range Initiative, and so decided to stand up the Institute. Now, the Institute is a center at UC, but serves the state. So we were able to continue to expand the hardware, and we continue to do that today, but more than double our original capacity. And then we've been able to build resources into the OCRI project to provide continuous support and improvement. And then we were also able to expand into an ecosystem with over 15 now regional programming centers. So the mission is a large one. It's to improve cybersecurity for the citizens of Ohio. And in order to do that, we have to integrate with existing programs. We have to partner with everyone in the state. So industry partners, researchers, nonprofits, workforce development organizations, and focus on these cyber-related fields in the state. As I said, the Ohio Cyber Range Institute is headquartered at UC as a center, but we serve the state, and there are a lot of people who are involved critically in this ecosystem. So the University of Akron and UC serve as the core service site. So they are housing the actual equipment for the Ohio Cyber Range. And then the 15 regional programming centers, including the Ohio State University, are all partnering to develop the curriculum, to develop the blueprints, the research, and partner with industry and communities to bring everything to their backyard and to provide resources for the entire state. We are sponsored by the ODHE and the Adjutant General's Office, and they help make up our executive committee, which also includes the Department of Administrative Services, Public Safety, the Department of Education, and Innovate Ohio. So this is the ecosystem that we are building, including the regional programming centers and the core service sites. We also have people who are at K-12 institutions, other universities, other colleges, and other members of the community who are accessing the range and who are accessing resources within the Institute. So it is not limited just to the 15 regional programming centers, but those are the partners in the state who are helping to build this ecosystem and make sure that everyone has access. So far, we have impacted 45 counties in the state. Again, the plan is to make sure that we get out to all of them. We have done nearly 400 higher ed classes, 158 K-12 classes, multiple industry recognized credential boot camps. And then in the cyber exercises, most of those have been capture the flag exercises, but we're continuing to build those. And then in the camps and seminars, those are primarily K-12 summer camps, but some of them are for students and some of them are for teachers. And then for the seminars, those are primarily cybersecurity awareness and cyber mindfulness seminars for the community at large. We have nearly 10,000 users and have trained over 200 instructors. So one of the use cases is in building lab environments for education. So these lab environments, an example here on the right, is something that we build once and we maintain within the Ohio Cyber Range with the infrastructure team, and then anyone in the state can use it. That is available. You can select it on a form, and then when you have a class, that is deployed to all of the students who are in the class and to the instructor. We can build in these real-world examples that sometimes take a lot of configuration and a lot of software. And we can also build environments where the students are installing the operating system, configuring, and kind of building as they go along. And in non-linear environments where there might be multiple solutions to a problem, and the students are able to kind of have the freedom to figure out how they would best solve it. So while I have this up here, I'm going to show you the range. So the range is accessed just from a browser. And here you can see my catalog is pretty extensive on what I have access to. There are actually thousands of environments that have been created, so this is a small subset. So everyone has a catalog of just what they are allowed to access, but they can request additional environments, and in addition, they can work with us to build a new environment. Under deployments, this is what somebody currently has access to that is running in the environment. So as an instructor, I have access to my students and I have access to my own environments. So for example, if I wanted to get into an ethical hacking course, and this is Ryan Moore's ethical hacking course, because I'm set up as the instructor, I can see his environment. And if he was having problems with his Kali Linux machine, I would be able to pop that up quickly, and we can both be in the environment at the same time. And I would be able to see exactly what he was struggling with, and would be able to take over his keyboard and be able to kind of show him some of the things that might be problematic, or kind of show him the answer depending on how I wanted to do that. So right now Ryan's not in there. So that's another option that I have, is we don't have to do this synchronously. So while Ryan is working on something else or in another class, I'm able to pop in and see where he left off and what he was doing at the time, so that I can help him to fix the configuration or help him to discover what tool he needed to use to get the exercise to work. In addition to that, I also wanted to show you the blueprints that were created. So there are multiple blueprints that people can use, and they select them from a much nicer form, but this is kind of the behind the scenes here with the blueprints. So this is an example of a penetration testing course. This is for one of the university courses that we have. And this is set up so that they have 6 different machines and they have 2 different networks. So important that we can configure the networks, we can configure the virtual machines, we can install the software, we can set it up exactly as we need to based on the course and based on the requirements. So multiple options here, but once this is set up, then the courses that are using it, we are able just to give you access to the blueprint. So let me get you out of here. And then it shows up in their catalog, ready to use and ready to pop up those virtual machines and then explore the networks as well. In addition to those lab resources and the cyber range itself that people have access to and they can collaborate on, we also need the instructional materials. And so we have a shared educational library of courses, of lectures, of video series that can be used in classes. And this is a phenomenal thing that happened in the state, is that so many people were willing to collaborate and willing to share their materials in order to get us to where we need to be much more quickly. So no longer is somebody at St. Clair developing a course and then somebody at the University of Akron developing the same course and not being aware that they are doing that. Now they're aware, they're able to share the resources, they're able to easily collaborate and improve on the resources so that we have more advanced, and we have better materials. Some of these, like the network monitoring and IPS, are full courses. That includes lectures, that includes presentations, hands-on labs, and assessments. And then some of them are those video series, like the Cybersecurity Awareness PSAs. And so that is just a collection of videos that were developed that could be used in any course. Some are appropriate for K-12, some for adult, and some for higher ed. And those can kind of be mixed and matched as well based on your audience. On workforce development, we have really focused on industry-recognized credentials and aligning the course to that and providing asynchronous and online courses to accommodate some of the adult learners. So we have been offering cybersecurity bootcamps, cybersecurity aligned, and related bootcamps since the summer of 2020. This is an example of the students from the spring 2021 bootcamp. We had 158 students, and they represented 20 Ohio counties. And you'll see the breakdown in age. The majority are not the traditional college age, and many of them are not employed or underemployed. So we continue to just broadcast this out for anyone in the state of Ohio who has a desire and has the ability to really focus on a virtual boot camp and earn an industry-recognized credential. These boot camps have been primarily aligned to CompTIA Network Plus and CompTIA Security Plus, but we now have new ones in Microsoft Azure, and we are building additional boot camps for more advanced and different technologies. We do have standards, and we have the ability to have multiple people review the boot camp and multiple instructors teach the boot camp. So it's not just let's train people to get a credential by taking a quiz. We make sure that we build in best practices and hands-on labs so that in addition to the credential, they're ready to do the work. So every module has to have an overview and that topic presentation. And then they practice what they learned in the presentation through a step-by-step walkthrough lab. We then have a quiz because we want to test their knowledge and also prepare them for the industry test. And then we have group discussion to practice communication and to research new topics and bring in new topics to the discussion. And then we have a challenge lab where it's not step-by-step instructions, but rather they have to actually apply their learning inside of the range on a challenge lab that is usually a project-based learning assignment. Once we developed those standards and we developed multiple boot camps, we realized that we needed to create a model because we had built up a lot of momentum. There were a lot of students who were interested, and oftentimes we know it's not just one boot camp and a little bit of resume building to get somebody into the field, but we needed a pathway. And everyone starts at a different area, and so we have multiple tracks where people can start, and we have some assessment tools that will help determine where they should start. And then we have multiple training pathways, and we're continuing to build those pathways And in addition, we have a Department of Labor grant that allows us to help them with the resume building, the interviewing skills, and that career readiness component. Another thing that we focused on are cyber exercises. As I said at the very beginning, most of our cyber exercises have been capture the flags. Those are great to get people interested, kind of understand what the cyber range is all about, understand what cybersecurity opportunities are out there, and maybe if they have an interest in problem solving and can kind of dabble a little bit, then they'll be interested in a course, in a summer camp, or potentially in a new career. But we also are developing a OPT4 versus blue, a red on blue exercise. And so that's in partnership with the Ohio Cyber Reserves. And we're going to be able to offer that sometime next year, where that might be more appropriate for an industry engagement or a statewide OPT4 versus blue for training to analyze gaps that industry might have with their employees, or to assess some of the policies and training opportunities that are out there. We would like to expand the industry engagement that we currently have. We do have an advisory board, and that's over 25 people. Many of them are industry partners of the Ohio Cyber Range Institute. We have also done some research with industry partners, but we would like to expand the use of the range through some of the simulation tools that we have, and in partnership with some of the researchers that are currently working in this space. And then research. This has been great to bring in a resource that's available to accelerate the research that people are doing all over the state, and to share some of the resources that are available with common research opportunities. So if you'd like to learn more, we'd love to have you at the Cybersecurity Education Symposium. This is our 3rd annual. It's virtual this year. And so it's also free, so we invite you to register. It is from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., but we'll have multiple breakout sessions, and so you are invited to attend for only a few sessions or for the entire day. We also invite you to subscribe to the quarterly newsletter. The last quarter, we have our annual report. So if you sign up now, that will probably be your first quarterly newsletter, will be our annual report, so that you can see more in depth what we've done over this past year. And then please reach out to us. Our website, we have multiple ways to get involved. And also we have multiple reports that you can see there. You can always reach out to the OCRI general account. And then, of course, reach out to me, Rebecca Michael. Thank you so much for your attention. Thanks for the invitation, OSU. Appreciate all of the work that everyone's doing, and look forward to seeing everyone in person soon. Bye-bye.